Today we have an episode for buyers and why that thing that we think it's not dangerous, like going to an open house and many other things that you do on your own, you shouldn't be doing it. And I want to welcome my host, Maria.
Thank you so much, Catalina. And it is so right. This episode is all about what to do when you feel that you can do it alone, but you can't.
Exactly.
And what is the biggest mistake buyers make when they start looking for a property?
They start by looking at properties.
That's the biggest one.
That's the biggest mistake, which you shouldn't do. You shouldn't, and I see it all the time. The first thing you need to do before you start looking for a property, first of all, is know how much you can afford. And the other thing is, if you have never bought a property here in Quebec, don't do it on your own. Don't go visit, don't go to open houses, don't call what we call the listing brokers.
Yes.
The listing brokers are the brokers representing the sellers. Don't do it on your own, because then you're going to risk the possibility of being represented by your own broker.
We talked a bit about this on the previous episode in Spanish.
Yeah.
Because it happens a lot. And it's going to an open house alone. Is it a mistake?
It's not always a mistake if, first of all, when you're going to buy now in Quebec, and if you want to, in a residential property, you want to be represented by your own broker, you also have to sign a brokerage contract to purchase. So if you have a brokerage contract to purchase signed with another broker, let's say it's kind of okay, but the first thing you need to do when you go into an open house, because the listing broker, the first thing they're going to do is, what's your name? Can you please write your information here? It's only normal. You're coming into somebody else's house.
Yes.
As a listing broker, I want to know who's coming. So as soon as you go into the open house, mention to the listing broker that you have your own broker. Okay? If you have not chosen your broker yet, then at least say, yes, I am interviewing a couple, and I'll let you know who is my broker.
So it's possible.
It is possible to go only to open houses, not to call and schedule a specific appointment. If it's an open house, but like I say, always mention to the listing broker, the seller's broker, that you have a broker. Ideally, even to go to open houses, your broker should advise the other broker, hey, my clients, Maria and Paula, are going to be passing by your open house.
Okay, and for those who don't know, who does the listing broker actually represent?
The seller and only the seller.
I see.
So when I have a listing up, I have a signed mandate with those sellers. And in my signed mandate, I have the responsibility of representing only the interest of the seller. Double representation is not longer allowed in Quebec since the summer of 2022. So if you go alone, you go without a broker, that listing broker or that seller's broker is not going to be able to represent your interest. They can only give you what we call fair treatment.
And talking about fair treatment, what is the difference between fair treatment and being represented?
So being represented is that I defend your interest.
Yes.
I fight for you to get the best price. I give you comparables. I show you what have sold in the area. I tell you what are the conditions I suggest that you should put on the offer. I accompany you throughout the process. Fair treatment means I have to provide you the information about the property without hiding anything, but I cannot give you any counsel. I cannot tell you, write these conditions on your offer, look at a comparative evaluation that is justifying the price that you are offering. And because the double representation is not allowed, that's why if you go directly to the listing broker, you can only get fair treatment.
I know we talked a bit about this on the Spanish episode, but it would be nice to let know the viewers of this episode what is a red flag that a broker can do with a double representation, because I find it very interesting.
Typically, when you call for a house and there's a broker, that broker, before accepting a visit or anything, has to ask you, do you have a broker? If you say no, they have to, by law, tell you the double representation is not allowed. They have to explain you what fair treatment is, and they have to tell you expressly, not hidden, not in between lines. No, they
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
Yes.
They have to tell you, I suggest that you get your own representation. So those things that unfortunately, many times, because I have a lot of clients that realize that something weird is happening. Like I call for this listing and they're telling me that it's sold, but they're offering me other listings. And like I was saying in the Spanish episode, I got a call from a client yesterday. He told me he started to find weird that 4 different brokers, that 4 different houses. And he's like, it's not that. And then I guess he was on the phone talking to his wife or whatever, and in Spanish, and he said my videos start to pop up. And he sees that I talk about the double representation, and he calls me. And he's like, look, and then I was able to explain him. But when I asked him, did they ask you these questions? He told me, no, they never. They just told me the property had an offer or it was pretty much sold, but they could offer me other properties. And it was a way of bringing him to other listings that didn't belong to the listing broker, to avoid, to keep the client without getting into a double representation conflict.
Interesting. Well, now you know.
Now you know.
What strategic information can buyers reveal without realizing it during a showing?
That's another thing. When you go on your own to a showing, to an open house, sometimes we don't realize how much information we're giving the listing broker. And because the listing broker is there to represent the interest of a seller, well, I have to keep my ears open to see what are people talking about. And many times a buyer is going to come in and go, oh my God, I love this property. Oh my God, I'm willing to offer over asking because I cannot keep losing houses. Oh my God, this is perfect. And then they ask the listing broker, when is the moving date? In 30 days. That's perfect because we're being kicked out of our rental. Or there's a lot of information that with a simple conversation, and it's not because the listing broker is evil.
No.
It's not because we're bad. We're there to catch that information. We are being paid to represent the interest of the seller. So we have to, and when we're going to give feedback to our clients, the sellers, we want to tell them, look, a family of the na came, and try to give as much information as possible. And I'm going to ask the questions. Are you pre-approved? I ask, you have a broker? Yes. And then I'm going to ask, are you pre-approved? And so there's a lot of information that in a very naive way, when you go on your own, you can reveal, and that it's going to make you weaker during the negotiation. If you go with your broker and I see that you're going to say something, I'm going to be like,
exactly.
don't.
I think we talked about this in a previous episode, is the preparation of an agent to a buyer.
Exactly.
To a showing.
Exactly. Yeah, I prepare my buyers for showings, and I tell them, first of all, you don't need to speak badly about the property. That's also something that some clients tend to do. And this is horrible, this is this, this is not worth this. No, don't, because the listing broker is also gonna catch all of that information and is gonna know, I'm gonna have a terrible offer with these clients, which are gonna try to negotiate after inspection, for example, or something like that. So I do coach my clients, my buyers, before they walk into any showing, into any property.
Have you seen any buyer being naive into any information sharing?
Yes. And in this case, I'm very happy because I'm representing the listing broker. But I'm sorry, I am the
Yes.
listing broker. So I am selling a building.
Yes.
I came from there now. And the business on the first floor. So it's two transactions, the building, the triplex, plus the business.
Wow.
And this buyer who has his broker, but right after he's like, this is perfect and this is all I needed. I know how much these chairs cost in the restaurant. I know how much this chair cost. What they're asking is if I decide to start a business or a restaurant from scratch, this is gonna cost me more than what it's worth. And I'm like, there I am recording everything. And then today they went for a third visit.
Wow.
And he's like, why wouldn't I buy this business if what I'm going to pay as a mortgage is less than what I'm going to pay as a rent downstairs? And there I am recording. And his broker is there and is not saying anything. But I'm like, okay, well, so yes.
Doesn't look good.
I mean, you're giving me the information. You're giving me all the information, how much you want the business, how much you want the building, how much you need it, how good of a perfect fit it is for you.
Well, now you know that buyers need to be a bit smart when
Coached.
they go coached when they go to showings.
And like I said, for the good and the bad things also, because I've had
True. That's so
people,
true.
I remember one transaction, my clients are buying a duplex, and during the inspection, the mother of one of the buyer comes and trashes the building, like with the things she said. The listing broker comes out red. She's like, what's wrong with this person? What's wrong with this woman? Like, what?
Oh my God.
And I'm like, and that can also put you in a tough position, because if you need collaboration from the listing broker or from the sellers during the transaction, you just offended their property. Like, you have to be careful with what you say.
I think you need to be guided.
Yes.
Before you go.
Yes.
How can that information affect the buyer's negotiating position?
It can change 180 degrees. If you give too much good information, well, you as a listing broker you're gonna know that buyer wants so much that property that you're gonna be very strict on the negotiation. And same thing, if it's somebody that it's trashing the property, you're gonna, and let's say there's a multiple offer situation, what are you gonna tell your seller? Do not choose that buyer. Do not choose that buyer.
Exactly, because I think you're representing the best fit.
That's exactly it.
Yes.
It's not only about the price, it's about the perfect fit. It's about that buyer that you know it's going to bring you the less problems and that it's actually going to end up signing at the notary. Exactly. You're looking for the best fit.
And will contacting the listing broker directly get the buyer a better price or save them money?
That's one of the social media things that they tell you. Contact the listing broker directly, because they're going to represent you for free, and you're probably going to get a better price because they can cut their commission because there's only one broker involved.
Oh my God,
that's
we hear that very
absolutely
often.
not true. First of all,
In Quebec.
Yes. In Quebec. Because like we said, in a residential transaction, the listing broker, who's the seller broker, cannot represent your interest. It can only give you fair treatment. And once again, in my contract, when I am selling a property, I have a fixed percentage. And it doesn't mean, unless I put a very specific clause, that if there's a buyer that is not represented by a broker, my commission would go until this percent. And also, even if I include, let's say, which is a bit stupid to include now because there's very little buyers that are not represented by their brokers.
Yes.
But even if I include that commission reduction clause for a buyer that's not represented, if there is a multiple offer situation, even if one of the clients has no representation and we have that clause, you cannot lower your commission because you would be penalizing the offers with clients that come represented by a broker. So why would you go, like, stop believing that you're gonna get a better price, that you, first of all, you might not get a better price. Second, you might overpay because you did not have your own counsel. And third, you're negotiating, you that don't know how this world is, you're negotiating against the listing broker who's a professional that it's paid to negotiate real estate transactions. Like, it's the worst thing you can do.
Now you guys know. And I know we talk about the self-representation and with no brokers. But we said something in Spanish that for me, it stuck out. That here in Quebec, you aren't allowed to be represented by the same broker, but only for commercial.
You are allowed to be represented by the same broker if it's commercial, because in residential, it's considered that two weak parties are negotiating and they need counsel. But in a commercial transaction, it's considered that two strong parties are negotiating. So the broker, it's really an intermediate.
Yes.
He's not really, in a commercial transaction, buyer and seller, they know what they're doing. They know what they want. They have the experience. So the broker is more a facilitator. In a residential, there's counseling all the time, counseling for both parties. So that's why the difference between, that's why on a residential transaction, the same broker can't do double representation, but on a commercial, they can.
And can a buyer bring their own broker into the transaction after visiting the property alone?
You can, but, and this is a lot, this is what happens a lot is, I am selling a property, I get a call from a buyer and they say, I ask them, do you have a broker? No. And then I explain the double representation. And the majority are like, oh, I just want to visit. Let me visit. And if I want to make an offer, I'll call my broker. Well, it doesn't work like that. You can't bring a broker, or I mean, you can.
Yes.
But because if you bring a broker late into the transaction, that broker will not be legally considered the effective cause of sale. The commission of that broker representing the buyer will have to most probably be covered by the buyer. If you're a buyer and you bring your broker since the beginning, meaning they call, they schedule the appointments, they're there with you, the seller's broker charges the seller a commission and shares his or her commission with the buyer's broker. So you as a buyer don't have to disburse any money from your pocket. So stop thinking that you can just visit and then call your broker. Your broker has to be there since the beginning. Don't call for information. That's why the buyer broker is there for that.
That's their job.
Exactly.
And I want to know, because you may have some experience with this with clients, what is the reason for them to not want to be represented?
Sometimes it's they don't know. Sometimes they don't know. They think that the listing broker can represent them.
Okay.
They don't know the double representation. Other times is because they're not pre-approved and they're just starting to look.
Yes.
So they, why am I going to contact a broker if I don't even know? No. Other times is because they're control freaks and they want to control the whole process. Other times is because they want to expedite the process and by the time they choose a broker and this and that. But I'm going to tell you that 95% of the cases is because they don't know. It's not because
have you had an experience with that when they contacted you afterwards?
Many. Well, I'm gonna say the majority.
Wow.
They don't understand the complexity of the transaction, and they also come from countries like ours where it's rare. We call, we shake hands, we talk, you go directly, and things are different here. So it's total inexperience. It's listening to social media, not it's listening to people that say, oh, you don't need a broker. Yeah, those people that say you don't need a broker, it's because they're probably bought one transaction and it went well. Yeah. But when somebody buys a property without a broker and it went wrong, they never buy again without without a broker. So it's mainly inexperience.
Now that you mentioned social media, because we get most of the information from there, have you gathered, for example, a red flag video or information that was shared about buying a loan without a representation?
Yeah, and it's every day. It's every day on a whole bunch of Facebook groups, because it's unfortunate that real estate brokers have a bad reputation. Because we're just for the people that are listening to us.
That's good to know.
There's about 18,000 brokers in the province of Quebec.
Wow.
And there's probably 100 that do things that you're not supposed to do. But those 100, we see them at La Presse every week. So I think that one of the professions that has the worst repair to people is real estate brokers.
Oh,
People assume that we open a door and we make a lot of money. And it's because everything is very simplified. And so there's a lot of Facebook groups that say buy directly, and it's bombarding people every day how you should not do business with a broker. And they're telling them you can save on the commission, you can do a better deal, they're all crooks. And it's constant bombarding to people how real estate brokers were as bad as politicians.
Yes.
So of course people are, but then when they realize how much we do and how available we are and how complex it is, of course, if you deal with a bad real estate broker, it's a bad experience. But like in any profession, if you have a bad doctor, if you have a bad dentist, like in any profession, but when you have a good experience, you see how much added value they can bring to the table.
And now that we're talking about buyers that go alone, do we have something here in Quebec? Because here is so different than other provinces and other countries. Do we here have any type of information and guidance to know what to do and when?
Yes. If people, before starting to work with a broker, if people have still doubts, questions or something, there is an organism called OASIC, OACIQ, which its purpose is to defend the public and it's concerning only real estate transactions. So if you have questions, you can go to the OASIC website, and there's all sorts of guides for buyers, for sellers, what to do, what not to do, what you're allowed. And there's also a hotline where you can call if you have doubts during a transaction, before a transaction. Yeah.
Wow.
And you can, hey, my broker is doing this. Is this normal? Is this allowed? Is this? And you can also call the agency director. So let's say I work for Remax du Quartier. And let's say you're working with me, and I'm asking you to show me your driver's license. And you're not sure, why am I asking you that? And you can call the OASIC to verify, or you can call my agency director to confirm, is it legal for her to ask me for my driver's license? Is it legal for her to ask me where I work and what is my position? So yes, there are things and that's why go to the source, go to the organisms that are created for that instead of just relying on Facebook groups.
You're so right. Because one of the things that really stuck up to me is that people are not enough informed.
No. And they get their information based on 20-second reels.
Okay, and what should a buyer's broker do before, during, and after a property showing?
So before I even step foot on a property with my client, the first thing I do is I look at the detail listing, the detail sheet description. I look at the seller's declaration, and I ask questions. Because like I tell my clients, many of the properties there's 20, 30 properties. I do a lot of preliminary work, and that is what any broker should do. They should look at the seller's declaration, because if there's already red flags on the seller's declaration, what is the purpose of visiting? They should ask additional questions. So for example, you're buying a condo And in the seller's declaration, it says that it does not have a contingency fund, which is now required by law. Well, that broker can get additional information. Hey, is it being and I can tell you before the visit, hey, Maria, look, the condo looks really beautiful, but they have zero money saved. Why are you going to go visit that? So there's a lot of preliminary work that has to be done. We also check comparables. The condo can look really beautiful, but it's if they're asking $50,000 more than the comparables. So a lot of preliminary work so that when you go to the visit, it is an efficient visit. Even bring questions. Like it still astonishes me that a lot of people or a lot of brokers come with clients to showings and they don't know half of the information, or they ask me the information, which is okay. I'm the listing broker. I'm there to answer your questions. But what I do as a buyer broker is I read those documents before. So when I go to the showing, I can literally ask questions. Like now I have a client buying a condo in Deux Montagnes. When I read the documents, I read that rentals were not allowed. So when we did the visit, I was able to get information about this, about when so it's an efficient visit. It's not just, oh, how beautiful the colors are and this and that. No, it's an efficient visit. And I don't know, it does require a lot of preliminary work, but that's what we're paid for.
Exactly. Well, you're talking about what to do before and during, but what about the after?
After the visit, another thing, during the visit, buyers typically are gonna concentrate on does my furniture fit? Does this fit? I'm gonna try to focus on the things that could potentially come up in an inspection. Yes. So I'm gonna go check if the electrical panel is conform. I'm gonna check if I can see if the windows are blurry, if the thermals of the windows need to be changed, if the electrical outlets close to water sources are GFCI. A lot of things so that I can, even before we make an offer and even before we go through inspection, my client already knows. Typically, my clients, when the inspector comes and they tell them, then they're like, oh, yeah, Catalina told me. Oh, yeah, she told me. Oh, yeah. And it's not for me to brag.
Yeah.
It's because it's my job to do that.
Exactly.
And after a visit, it's very important to summarize. What did you like? What didn't you like? Because that way you can guide the client better. It's always good to comment and get feedback from the client always after a visit so you can do better your job.
Interesting. Is it a red flag that during a showing your broker is silent?
It depends on it depends if it's silent after 2. If he says nothing, then why the hell did you come?
Because I've met some.
No,
and I didn't know that they were supposed to be prepared. They were supposed to have questions, inform you, check on things, and then do the due diligence of after the showing to do a summarize and then ask you how you feel. Like that's something that I didn't know, because most of the agents would just let you go into the house and that's it. And they're just like back in there and you just go look.
You can't ambush the client and let them be.
Yes.
But at the same time, point out the little things. And while they're doing many of the times what I do is I point out small things. Hey, this we're going to need to change this and that. But I let them be. And while they're there, getting the feel, the energy, whatever it is, I go to the seller or to the listing broker and I get the answers to my questions. If we're alone because there's a lockbox, then normally I'm already prepared and I already asked the questions, or I'm going to take down the questions that can come up after the visit.
Interesting. And what should every buyer do before visiting their first property?
Please get pre-approved. Get your mortgage pre-approval. And again, try not to go directly to your bank. Try to go through a mortgage broker who's going to look for the best option for you, and it doesn't cost you anything. Another thing is do your numbers, Because one thing is what you're pre-approved for, and another thing is what you're comfortable paying.
Yes.
Because you can be pre-approved for $1 million, but if you're only comfortable paying $2,000 a month for a mortgage, then you can't buy as $1 million. I'm going to say also do a list of things that are negotiable and non-negotiable. And again, call your broker if you want to get represented. If you feel you're Superman and you know everything and you can go on your own, by all means, go on your own.
Yes.
But if you don't, call your broker before visiting. It's not after, it's before.